want to start with Coby, who just kind of went off a little bit in the locker room here.
Ooh. Yes,
he
please
just
do.
and he just said this was an embarrassment. It was a disservice to the fan base and to the organization. We got to take a stance. Giving up 140 plus is unacceptable. It's embarrassing. It's a disservice to the organization and the fan base. So he was pretty hot afterwards. I think that was kind of the sentiment from everybody. And look, it's one thing to like give up 140 if you're playing against like an incredible offensive team. You don't want to get into a habit of it, but we just saw this with the Cavs, where they were just a much better team and they kind of ran up the score at the end and got there. This was not one of those games. This was a game where, taking Billy and Coby and Zach's line, it was like a compete thing. It was an effort thing. It was, they got to take a stance and defensively get themselves to be able to keep guys in front of them because they're just giving up runways to the rim. And I think the big thing for the Bulls this game, what Billy said was like them missing shots. And, they shot, 14 of 56 on threes. So franchise record for 3-point attempts per game. And, when those don't go in, it's very tough to make a living and you have to find other ways. But I think what happened tonight was that they let it seep into their confidence, into their defensive compete level. And it just wasn't good enough. And that's how you unravel and give up 143. And so clearly they were not happy about it. It was kind of a somber, not very happy locker room in there. But I mean, they wanted to send the message that this is not good enough. And I think Coby did.
In that lineup he had, because one of the things I keep talking about is I want to see Coby take that next level. And that next level to me is the leadership aspect. And they had that lineup in of Io, Coby. Matt, what did I?
It was Io, Coby, Jalen Smith, Julian and Dalen, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. The kids.
That's the kids. But that's where I feel like is a golden opportunity for Coby to really step up and take that leadership role because that was the group that kind of just struggled to close out the third. And I kind of felt like that's where the game was sealed before the base total collapse in the fourth. But you get an opportunity to watch Coby play all the time. You're at practice. You see what these guys talk about. I feel like Coby has that in him. But I want to ask you, do you, from when you talked to him and you saw, the way he talked tonight, do you feel like he has the ability to be that guy, to be the leader, to be the head of the snake, but also the guy that holds everybody else accountable?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think I see, more of it than most people probably do just being around, but I only see such a small fraction of it that it's hard to really say. But what I will say is that Coby's leadership over the past year has really impressed me. I think he's taken real strides there. And I think you can see that in his game. Like there was a moment, I think, end of the season 2 years ago, where he started to figure things out a little bit more and started to have a more secure role when Patrick Beverley was moved into the starting lineup and it was Io and Coby off the bench with Patrick. And he started playing a little bit better. And he had a big moment in the Miami Heat play-in game. And obviously Billy went the other direction and closed with him off the court in that. And that was the end of the season. And then coming into that next season, I feel like something clicked for him, whether it was his workout regimen or, just getting better. I think that happens with guys at different times, at different rates. But I think he just really took a step forward in terms of understanding how good he is and then understanding what that means about his position on the team and his ability to be a vocal leader on the team. And so I think he took huge strides last year with that. But now you enter a situation this year where there's no DeMar, there's no Caruso. And those were really the two guys in terms of vocal leadership on this team. DeMar on the offensive end, Caruso on the defensive end, that were calling out plays, that everything was running through, that they were kind of the infrastructure for the Bulls on either side of the ball. They don't really have that this year. And so I think it's a challenge for a guy like Coby where obviously he's capable of being, an offensive supernova. We saw that in the playing game where he had 42 or whatever it was. We've seen that at various times this year. He had 29 the other night. He's an incredible offensive player, and I think he's really stepped into a leadership role on this team because that's what the team needs of him. And so I never want to say like a guy can or can't get to a certain point or can or can't do something. Like I never want to put that on a player. I tend to think about it more from the perspective of the organization of like, what do we need to do to put this team in the best position to succeed? And I think Coby's able to be the guy in terms of leadership. I think the question is like, can you put the right skills and roster and talent around him so that he can be successful from a team standpoint? But in terms of his actual leadership, I think it's more of a challenge this year without DeMar, both from an on and off court standpoint, where he's now having to be the guy who's creating a lot of the offense. I know Zach is back and Vooch is playing better, but if he's going to be the primary ball handler, it's a tough step to take from last year where he was playing so much and so well off of DeMar. And so I think there's going to be some growing pains with it, but that's, I think, the thing that has been most impressive about Coby to me is just his ability to look within, continue to get better, continue to grow, and understand what he needs to do in order to put himself in the best position to succeed. And I think you're starting to see more of that. And it's just a little bit different this year, but he's, I think, definitely finding his footing as a leader with this group.
We all silly like the mayor.